Good afternoon, friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is our Wednesday Meet the Team interview session. If you're new to one of these, then thanks so much for turning up. And if you're an old hat, then welcome back. Today, I'm super excited. We've got a brilliant maker, fabricator, set builder, prop maker called Georgi Shire. And what we're trying to do with these interviews is to just give a bit more of a rounded view as to who's involved in making a theatre show. When we normally make shows and we go into a primary school and we rehearse in there, quite often we'll go into the classrooms and we'll do little question and answer sessions with classes about what it involves being a director or being a writer or an actor or a composer. And I thought that during lockdown, whilst we're not touring and whilst you guys are looking for things to do at home, it might be quite a nice thing to do to meet some of those makers right now. And actually Georgie is as busy as ever because she's very, very in demand and very good at her job. So I'm really grateful that we've got her to chat today. Now, whilst we're doing the chat today, and if you have any questions at all, type them into the comments. And if you're watching this live, we can I can ask Georgie at the end. We'll do a little question and answer session. And if you're watching this on catch up, then still write your questions in the comments, and I can WhatsApp Georgie and I can get some answers over to you as well. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to the brilliant Georgi Shire. Good afternoon, Georgie. Hi.
Hi, Tessa. Hi, everyone. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Quite warm today. It's nice and sunny outside.
Does it get warm in the workshop, or is it a shady cave?
No, it does get warm. There's not much airflow. It's true, but I am quite near a big roll shutter door, so I've got the most ventilation.
It looks like you could potentially be the size of a borrower with an actual sized piece of orange behind you.
Ah, maybe I am.
This is going to mess with our minds, isn't it? This.
Yeah.
Georgie, we've been working together, we figured out whilst we were chatting, for 5 years. You've been making my designer's squiggly little drawings into actual things made of metal and wood and all sorts of other things. And I can't wait to hear a bit more about how that all happens.
Yes. Oh, here we go. Well, yeah, I'm in my studio now. As you can see, I'm around all my tools and I share the space with about 20 other people. It's all open plan, so the noise travels and so does the dust. But I can give you a little tour if you'd like.
That would be lovely. So these little logos that I've got here, I'll just put up. Is this the logo of the studio? What's
yes,
that? What can we see?
Old Market Manor in Old Market in Bristol. And yes, we've got woodworkers, metalworkers, jewellery makers, people who dye fabric using natural materials and all sorts of creative souls.
Great. Okay, we can see you now. I'd love a tour, please. See how, where you make the magic happen.
So like I said, I've got all my tools. I've got the metalworking area with my welder, and then the measuring drawer, the kind of cutting drawer, the hammer drawer, some kind of power tools under there, a whole shelf of nuts and bolts.
With a massive strawberry just casually lying at the top.
Big strawberry. Screws, and then I have to collect loads of bobs to make things out of, because you never know what you might need. So it's so I collect all sorts of things, handles and pulleys, and then I have all this here, kind of fabric and paints and plaster and anything that you could make something else from. And then that's somebody's space. There's metalworking things here. There's forge and kind of everything you'd need to do a metalwork project down there. And here's the woodwork shop. Peat space. Yeah,
Huge
kind of got the
pieces
sort
of
of
machinery there. Whoa.
the
There we
Here we
go.
go.
Amazing.
Yes, so I basically make things for all kinds of different people. So that is basically cutting and sticking, but in all sorts of materials. So you could be either cutting things like cardboard with scissors, or giant bits of wood on the panel saw, or kind of sticking things with a glue gun, or just Yoo-hoo glue, and or using a welder to kind of weld bits of metal together.
I really like that way of thinking of
Cutting and
it.
sticking
Just,
in every
yeah,
material.
cutting
Yeah.
and sticking on different scales.
Yeah.
And what kind of, so I know you work in theatre obviously, but your job is actually really vast, isn't it? It's you know, you work for theatre, but then you work
with
in loads of different industries.
lots of performance, circus, and events and festivals, and I work for artists, so I help them make their work happen. Sometimes I work for museums, sometimes I work for TV or film, sometimes I work with artists who need to make bits of apparatus. Kind of make fancy bird tables and puzzles for kind of blue tits to kind of pull matches out of tubes to get the seeds and stuff. So like very random.
Wow. Should we
Yeah.
start with the projects that we've worked on together, and then we can maybe look at some of the others that you've been working on in the last few years. I've got some pictures here of the first show that
number one.
Yeah,
the
that
Melody
you helped
Makers.
build. Yeah, way back in 2015.
Great. Got instrument cases that kind of opened out and different things popped up.
Instrument cases, yeah. We can see the Christmas tree
show.
cello case. Do you remember, with the star on top and the fairy lights kind of down through the middle?
Switched on.
Yeah. We made the entire set out of loads of music cases, and we kind of wanted all of the props and the puppet and everything to be music related. So yeah, even do you remember the monster with the kind of big opening mouth, and it had bongos for eyes that you made light up, and swishing violin case tail, and
great.
That was that one.
That was cool. And do you still tour that now?
So that one literally just existed for 2015. Yeah, I think the Melody Makers was a very big, ambitious show, and it had a cast of 4. So I didn't quite realise that was really expensive to tour. I just thought, it would be 4 times as fun making a show with 4 people instead of 1 person. And then actually you have to house those people, and you have to clothe them, and you have to transport them and everything. So yeah, so it was an ambitious show.
Feed them.
Yeah. But the next one that we worked on was Perfect, which I've got some photos here now, which had that big semicircular cyc. Do you remember that?
Yes. So that was different because I think Lunid designed it, didn't she? And she came to me with the tiny model. And so I basically recreate whatever she has thought up. And so that's like a really nice way of working, to have this tiny thing that then becomes massive in reality. And it looks exactly the same.
Yeah, just
so we had the painted dance floor, and we had some steps for people to stand on, and then the curved back projection screen, which is certainly a challenge. That was really cool. I got to work with the technicalities of kind of what happens with light on a curve, and stretching fabric and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it all had to travel within a car, I seem to remember.
Yeah.
So
within a VW estate.
Yeah.
Because I'm too stingy to get a van. Still.
But You managed it. And
Yeah,
do you still show that one?
yeah. So that tour 2018 and again a little bit in 2019. It went to the Netherlands.
Very
So
good.
it did quite a big tour in 2018. Then it went to the Netherlands last year, and
Wow.
I haven't put it away. Put it away. You know, it's there in my garage, and I'm hoping that it will go out again. And we've been we've been streaming the link of it this month, so we've had people have been able to watch it online this month. So that's been quite
Very
nice, and
cool.
it's still available now if people want to watch it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's having a second life now, really, without even going out live, which is cool.
Very cool.
And then I'm bringing us on to the Selfish Giant, which we can see here.
Whoa, that was a challenge.
Lots of
Uh,
metal work in that, wasn't there?
yeah, ladders coming out of the ground. I haven't actually seen you perform that one, so
It was
you
great.
kind of
Take my word
jumped.
for
It was
it.
quite acrobatic, jumping all around the ladders.
Yeah, we had to do quite a
Quite
lot of
amazing.
counterweight stuff, didn't we? We had Gwen
Yeah.
Hales, who was our kind of leaping about, clambering about expert, and she took one look at Thomasin's design, her kind of model box, and was like, "Yeah, that's not safe." So then we had to have those scaff bars in between the ladders in a triangle. Do you remember to keep it all together?
Yes, we did.
Because otherwise
Yeah.
the ladders would be too wobbly.
They
And I'm
kind of
actually scared of heights,
shaking.
so I appreciated the extra work on the
Did
anti-wobble.
did you climb to the top of the ladders
I
during the
did,
show?
yeah.
Oh, good.
Holding puppets sometimes as well.
Wow, one-handed.
Yeah. And I think the next show and the last show that we worked on together was the Anarchist Mobile Library, which
Oh
again,
yes,
another big ask.
incredibly ambitious. Yeah, it was a fold-out caravan, so it flatbacks into just a tiny trailer
Yeah.
itself that was already made, and then we had to make all the props that kind of fit into.
Everything had to flat pack down, didn't it?
And that was supposed to go out this year, I assume.
Yeah, it was due to go out last. Oh, squeaky noise. Um,
Oh, can you hear that one?
yeah, there was
Is that
a little mini tour last year, kind of August to October. And then
yes,
this year was going to be our big tour. So boo hoo, we didn't get to do our big tour. Um,
yet.
but yeah, it's actually it's on my drive, ready to go out, and the mastery that you managed, kind of fabricating things that would then have to pop down and flat pack, was very impressive. And again, just touring with
Yeah.
a car, and three people
You,
sat in the car as well.
I really?
Yeah,
I think you should get a van next.
I know. Yeah, I think so too.
It's kind of an estate car though. Yeah, it's quite long,
Yeah,
wasn't it? Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty long. So yeah, we can see the kind of arms coming out of the side of the caravan. We've got a kind of
Oh
robot arm and
yes.
a giraffe bum and an elephant's head and octopus arms and little feet at the bottom of the caravan. So how did you like laser cut them, or were they on a jigsaw? How did you
No,
cut
I just hand cut them with a jigsaw. Yeah.
some very bendy shapes? I can
Yeah.
see my next slide. I can see a massive. Is it an iguanodon?
Ah, the Iguanodon Restaurant.
Yeah.
Yes, that was also made out of a caravan. I see a theme.
Oh, is
So
that how
that
it
was a
started?
caravan for the body, and then the legs and the head and the tail kind of had to travel within the caravan, but also then pop on, and the head and the tail and the eyes move. And it was a historic show. Who was it funded by? Arts Council and some paleontology type
And it was Sarah
organisation.
Butterworth. Was it Emerald Ann? Is that her company?
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. Yes.
And
She's got,
what are the legs and the tail fabricated? Is that material, or is it?
yeah, so it was entirely chicken wire with fabric and then latex and then a glaze and painted afterwards. So it was lightweight, it was squishy. You could fold it up and stuff it inside.
So the legs and the tail and the head, that all comes off, and then it tows like a caravan.
And and you squash it down and you pop it inside, and then you put the wheels back on. Yeah. So she's now got an Iguanodon Restaurant, and she does have another dinosaur that's a cinema, I believe.
Yes, I think I saw that at Glastonbury when we went.
Yeah.
We were parked up next to it, or maybe Latitude. A few years ago I was parked next to her. And she's also Dorset based, where I was from, so yeah, big up the Dorset massive. Okay, next up I can see some rat heads.
Oh yes.
And a spacesuit.
As well as making kind of stages and props and backdrops. Just have a drink of water.
Ooh, some amazing.
I make costumes,
wings.
And I've got the mould here. I found this last night. Oh, ow. This is the mould made of jesmonite, and there is a latex mask inside. This is before painting. I think this is a test one. Oh, it's like a hairless rat.
Baby rat.
And that was used by a company called Gorilla Science, and they dressed up as rats wearing kind of scientist white coats and ran around festivals talking to people.
And generally being very sweaty, I imagine.
Yeah, exactly.
In a silicone
It had
mask.
more holes in it, yeah. There were a lot
Okay.
of air holes, and you could also see through the snout area, but still very hot.
They're amazing.
And then and so the next thing I think was that the
spacesuit, yeah.
Yes, that was I was working for a lady called Alison Stevenson, and she got commissioned by the European Space Agency when Tim Peake went into space.
Oh wow.
So we made 20 of those space costumes for science centres around the UK. So a couple went to the Eden Project, and a couple went to Bristol, and there's a couple at the London Science Museum and stuff like that. And that was for the people who worked there to kind of bring awareness to what was happening in the current space programme. And then we got a commission for another 20 more. And they are now, you can buy one if you want. They're now free to, not free, but
probably very expensive.
We're allowed to make them to commission if anyone wants one.
Oh wow. Were they based on like NASA suits or British?
Yes, they were the
spacesuits or
the European ones. It's called the Sokol suit, SOKOL, and so I did the metal work on there. I should probably say that I made the visor and kind of found bits off barrels and clasps and things that were the valves and things on the suit, and then there was a team of 3 people sewing the actual costumes. And somebody said we had to have a label inside saying "Do not wear into space" because they were so authentic. So that's nice. Just
in case Elon Musk bought one off your website and is using it right now. And those iridescent butterfly wings, or no, not butterfly wings, like dragonfly wings or something. They're beautiful as well.
Yes, they were fruit fly wings, and they were also for that company, Gorilla Science. Sorry about that noise in the background.
That's the joys of a workshop, isn't it?
That is, yes. And they were used for festivals to bring awareness to how they use fruit flies for lots of research on different conditions, medical conditions, and how amazing fruit flies are, and all the different mutations that fruit flies have, etc.
How did you make the kind of iridescent, kind of paper thin bit in the middle of the wing?
That is this amazing dichromatic film, kind of like a cellophane. So I welded up the framework and then used this kind of, I think you call it, it's called tight bond or something. You iron it on and it sticks onto the plastic, and it shrinks with a heat gun. So then it goes really tight and is waterproof. Yeah.
Amazing. And next up, I can see, I think this might be your kind of commercial work, some window display stuff.
Yeah. So on that there is, so yeah, we work for a lot of food companies, and that's why we end up making lots of big fruit. And we try and make our window displays or our points of sale a bit more interactive. So for Pepsi, I think we made a geometric mini golf run. And for Pop Chips, the crisps, we made kind of a playground where people could swing and they could bounce up and down on a trampoline and select a flavour on this. As they bounce, the colour changed on a light box, and they could select their flavour and stuff like that. And so, yeah, using lots of lights and an interactive electronic element.
And where were these displays displayed?
I think they went on tour, so they travelled around kind of on the South Bank or in, they have kind of, not conferences, the word is, where people go and there's lots of stalls and you kind of select what goods your company's going to sell, etc. So
what are the cars? Tiny cars.
Oh, the cars. Oh, yes. That was for Pop Chips. And we made it was a window display. We made a drive-in movie scene. So these big bags of crisps were kind of watching the screen. And there was a film that was made in LA and that was projected. And then we got lots of neon made. It was very funky.
Great. Oh, I think I remember seeing some of your neon stuff when I came to there was like that was an ice cream. Did you work for an ice cream company and you had this like spacey ice cream booth thing? Yes,
yeah, we've done all sorts.
Amazing. And tell me about, is it Daphne Wright? I can see some.
So I've been her assistant for 8 years, and I started off just kind of helping her make her work, and then as our relationship's grown, I kind of advise her on different techniques to make the armatures, which are the metal structures within her clay pieces, so that we can then make the kind of very 3 meter high, very tall sunflowers and things like that.
And for anyone watching who doesn't know her, who is she?
She's an Irish artist and a fine artist, and she makes all sorts of installations and films. And she was supposed to have a show during COVID, which we were going to install in London, but that got postponed till September at the moment. So we will be.
And how does that relationship work? Is it similar to building sets in that does she make a tiny version of it and then give it to you to make bigger, or how does it work?
I work alongside her, so it will be more like we don't know where it's going, but I'll just go there and then she'll say, how about this? And we'll try this and that. And it's quite a long process. Oh, cool. The sunflowers took us 4 years to kind of complete.
Wow.
And it's really nice to get to know a material very well and kind of take it to its limit. And yeah, I help her kind of organise her exhibition spaces and send out the goods as well for her. So it's like we do lots of stuff with her closely.
Very collaborative, it sounds, yeah.
Obviously it's definitely all her ideas and things, but I feel very involved.
Yeah. Cool. And who are these guys? Who are these? I mean, they could be poos with arms, but they also could be sticks.
I put them on as people may know them as Stickman and his Lady Love, and they were for Edinburgh Festival, kids' faves. I make puppets.
Was that for the show, for Stickman?
Yes, the show.
I think Peter Moritz, who was talking a couple of weeks ago, she worked on that, didn't she?
She did indeed. Yeah, she's worked on a lot of the same things that I've worked on, including the borrowers.
Oh yes. And, you made the giant paper aeroplane that someone kind of flew in on, didn't they, in the borrowers?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And she worked on the first job that I got when I moved to Bristol, which was at the tobacco factory, and that was the Pinocchio in 2011.
Cool. This has been what I've really loved of doing these sessions, is the crossovers of artists as well.
Yeah.
Last week I had Amy Draper, who's a director, on, and she worked on this piece that Steph DeWally, who was our first interviewee, she's an actor who was in the Tap Dancing Mermaid and Perfect, and they had worked together on a thing in London. So yeah, it's nice to know of these.
It's amazing.
Small world crossovers.
It's always strange for me because I kind of make the thing and then it goes off and has this whole other life, and I find out these people have like got to know this object very well, and I'm like, oh, that's nice.
And you're on the 300th thing since making that.
Yeah.
What can I see here? It's like, well, you've called it wind synth. I can see kind of a fan and some lots of wires and things.
Oh yes. So as well as making stuff for everybody else, I make things for myself, and this is just the project that I've started, which is a wind-powered. Well, this one is a wind-controlled musical bleeping device. You can play the breeze as it goes past. So a little bit of soldering and electronics and wind power. Eventually, I'd like it to be fully powered by the wind. But yeah, it's nice to use your creativity for your own thing too.
Brilliant. Is music something that you've experimented with before in your work? Is that a through thread, or was this just a one-off project?
Yeah, that's a good question. I love listening to music, but maybe saying that, I've kind of made some flutes, and there's out of offcuts of wood down here. I made a glockenspiel. Yeah, it kind of comes up in waves.
You just made a glockenspiel out of some offcuts of wood.
Yeah.
I love that. That's just I just made a glockenspiel.
I wish I could get it out. It's really buried.
We're back to us now. Thank you so much for giving us that whistle-stop tour through all the different things that you work in. I wondered if we could have a little glimpse into how you got into this, and if someone's watching this going, that is what I want to do when I grow up, or that's what I want to do after lockdown, how would you advise getting into it?
I would say just keep making things. Anything you find, make it into something else, give it a new life, and obviously you can train in things. I did a university course called Wood, Metal, Plastics and Ceramics, where I learned lots of different crafts. Or you can just go straight into a job and be someone's apprentice. If there's someone doing something, watch them. I used to watch my dad making things. My mum was really kind. She let me use her sewing machine from a very young age, and they were really encouraging. So just keep going, keep making things. And I also do lots of short courses now, just to keep learning.
I was going to say
experimenting.
Yeah, do you kind of skill up on things? And there must be new materials, becoming popular as well. So that must be a big
new
part
materials and new processes. There's lots of new machines, kind of CNC and laser cutting, that is really interesting, and it's not going to kind of take away our jobs. It's just another way of doing these things.
Yeah.
So it's good to get involved in the kind of computery world, but also have the kind of physical thing.
Yeah, definitely. Did you want to, we've got a few questions coming in. Did you want to show us anything else? Anything else that you're working on at the minute? Or...
No, go for it.
Alrighty. We've got one from Alexandra who says, what's the most ambitious set design you've done?
Oh, most ambitious. Let me think about this. It's a good question. They're all quite ambitious.
She's always good.
You always kind of get your budget, and then you try and do as much as you possibly can with it, within the time frame, I guess. And I think last year we kind of made a whole stage that was the side of a dock, and these canal locked doors kind of opened up, and inside there was a coral reef, and we made all these seats. The whole audience was underwater, and you sat on the seats, and they were also the speakers, so you could hear the sound kind of coming through the seats.
But they weren't
So
actually underwater.
No.
Okay.
But you kind of felt like you were, and there were
Wow.
puppets that swam around you, and it was all quite immersive. So
Who was
cool.
that
was
with?
the Cirque Bijou and Extraordinary Bodies.
Cool. That sounds great. When we were talking earlier, you said that, you know, you always try and be as ambitious as you can, even with the tiniest budgets. But
yeah,
you have to kind of, and this is been part of working, working together has been me kind of going, okay, yeah, I want an underwater show with speakers coming out for things, and
yeah.
I've got £1,000, and you're like, okay, how about we do this? Yeah. You said that the making a cloud was quite a good example. You said that.
Yeah, that analogy of someone coming to you and saying, I would like a cloud. And I say, okay, if you've got £50, you can have a giant ball of cotton wool, and we could maybe put some fairy lights in it. But if you have £50,000, we could talk to some scientists and try and create some atmospheric pressure in a jar and kind of
make an actual,
try and get an actual cloud in a jar. But there are variations of what you can achieve within the time frame and with the skills, but I feel like now I've met enough people who are all very talented that I know who to call if we need to make something specific. Nice.
And I suppose working with the kind of breadth of different areas and different people that you work with, you will be working with different budgets, because I imagine doing stuff just in theatre, I think like theatre designers, it can get a little bit a little bit frustrating when the budget is it's never the dreamy, this is going to do everything.
Always
theatre. Yeah, exactly. Theatre is never that, is it? So
I just can't believe that basically, I mean, theatre's amazing because you have people standing there in front of you, performing for you every day, and instead of having a film where it's recorded once and then that gets kind of passed around, there are actual human beings right there, and that's what you're paying for.
Who will do that again and again and again just for you. We've got another question here from Alice, who says, how involved do you become in the design for shows? Do you have to make exactly what someone asks for, or is there a collaborative element? And is it different for each show and designer?
Thank you for the question. It is definitely different every single time. You've got sometimes you've got quite a big team who's already talked about projects for quite a few months, so you kind of have to work out what they're thinking and what they need. And sometimes you get a drawing and it's got all the dimensions on, and you just kind of follow that. And some people just say, I want something a bit like this, and so you can work in both ways.
Do you have a preference?
They're both good. I like the variation, actually.
Yeah.
Because I like the ability to be creative, and I think you can still be creative within the parameters of the drawing. So, yeah, both are good.
And do you spend a lot of time kind of drawing things up and quoting and budgeting for things that then don't get made? Is that a kind of difficult thing to navigate?
Yes, that is. And some people don't want to let you know how much money they have, and some people do. And so you're kind of trying to guess. Well, the first thing with quoting is that you're going to make a thing that you've never made before, and you've got to come up with a number that kind of reflects that, hopefully.
There's no kind of menu of like, oh, you want a dinosaur restaurant made out of a caravan? Well, let me just get that out of my menu. Iguanodon. Okay, that's this many thousands of pounds. Yeah, it must take so long. I wouldn't be able to wrap my head around that, I don't think.
No, there's an element of kind of guess and then putting enough contingency in, hopefully, that things do go wrong and things always take longer than you think. Those are two things I know.
And if someone were, wanted to make things and they didn't have the fancy equipment and things, is there a way that makers can access that machinery, or, what would you advise about that? Because there's some seriously expensive tools involved with what you do, isn't
These
there?
ones are, and do you know when you're buying wood, you can get stuff cut to size and stuff. So that's quite useful. But here, down the other end, there are workspaces that you can where you kind of use the same desk area in the middle, and you have a bench around the edge. I'm not quite sure what the deal is there, and I think they were going to do the kind of weekend hire thing, but also you'd need to have an induction, and it's a good question.
I guess it's that thing of starting with cutting and sticking. You might go, okay, I've done it this way and now I'm going to invest in a glue gun, or now I'm going to invest in a jigsaw, bit by bit, kind of, as you get more confident. We've got another question here.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
I don't think you ever regret buying machinery, to be honest.
No,
I don't.
Brand new toy.
Yeah.
Classic here. What has been your favourite project to work on?
Obviously
one of mine, but if you didn't have to say one of mine.
Apart from all of yours.
All of mine, yeah. Put them aside.
Again, it's so hard to remember what I've even done. Some have been quite kind of mad. Oh no, I can't think. My mind has gone blank.
I have never worked on anything ever.
Lots of the I enjoy being in a team of painters. Sometimes you kind of get sent off and you go to London and then just kind of paint lots of walls and make a big mess. But
that's another question. I guess does it feel like quite a solitary job, or when you do get to work with teams, is that lovely, or is that quite jarring when you're used to working by yourself in a workshop?
It's nice. I think one of the things I like to have is the collaboration side, the motivation, if anything, because you can get stuck on a problem. All you need to do is kind of talk to somebody about it. But being in the shared studio is useful, because if you are working alone, you can just have a word with somebody else and say, what do you think I should do next on this then?
Yes.
And so that's really nice.
Is there good camaraderie? Is there good camaraderie in the workshop? Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like youth club here every day.
And wow. how has the pandemic affected you? It certainly doesn't sound like everything is ground to a halt. I can hear lots of banging.
No, well, it did originally for lots of people, and events and festivals were completely cancelled, so everyone had to rethink. And although this place wasn't closed initially, people kind of avoided coming in, and we've all got our own spaces, so you can kind of keep separate now. But yeah, lots of people have got work coming in, so that's nice, making kitchens and things. And I've actually taken on a job somewhere else, so I go into a different workplace now.
And what are you working on at the moment? What's kind of next on the production line, as it were?
I'm doing two things. I'm making this giant sardine tin over here.
What's that?
So this is the outside of it. That's going to have a big sticker on the outside, and this is the water level, and this is the underwater area. And there'll be a handle on the outside, and then this will turn, and then these will go up and down, and a fish will swim in this area.
Cool.
And my friend has recorded some music, and so when the fish is jumping, his music will play. Kind of making that.
Amazing. What's that for?
An architect. It's for a foyer of a new building over in Bristol called Merchant's House. I think it's going to be opposite, but this will be for people who stand by the elevator every day and they'll turn the handle and listen to the music.
In the lift, in the elevator.
Oh no, next to where you get into the elevator, in the waiting area. Yeah.
I want one of those in my house before you go up the stairs.
Hello, Tessa.
Yeah.
Good night, Tessa.
And any other projects on the back burner?
So I'll be installing the Daphne Wright show in September, and I am making, with this other company, we're making a restaurant, a giant themed restaurant for Yorkshire Wildlife Park. Hopefully we're going to go and install it in a couple of weeks, and there's a huge ship and a jungle and a Petra cave canyon. So fun to be involved in.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. And get to work outside in Yorkshire for a bit, so it sounds dreamy. Exactly. Have you been able to work on good locations? Is that part of the job?
A few, yeah. I've been to France a few times, and worked in some studios in Wales.
Brilliant.
And London, yeah.
Great. I think everyone who's watched this is probably, you've got the creative juices flowing. Like I am not a maker. Quite often I have to make little kind of silly versions of things that then I'll give to a proper maker to actually make better. But it's been so great to just hear about that whole process that we just don't see. The magic in theatre is that these things that you can't possibly imagine how they've been built, they actually have been built. And if it's one of my shows, and then that
you bring them to life, and that they kind of all just become one with the actors and set the scene. So actually they should kind of blend into the whole thing. And
always be useful. If a prop if it's not crucial, it shouldn't be
get rid.
Yeah
that does happen.
Yeah, that must be really brutal. I think that's the idea of doing a kind of R&D, and in our stuff because it's devised, we're constantly making up as we go along. But if you do a good R&D, which is like a research and developy thing, then you can play with a newspaper fish or a newspaper massive lemon or something, and then we can go to you when we definitely know how important that lemon is. And go, Georgie, make us the lemon, please.
Exactly.
Lush. Thank you so much, Georgie. I think that's the end of our questions online. If anyone else is watching and you come up with another question for Georgie, then type it in and I can ask Georgie, and we can pop it on the comments later. So I'll say bye, Georgie. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Happy making.
Thank you.
I really hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. This whole series of doing Meet the Team interviews just fills me with joy, because I get to see my pals and I get to introduce them to you, and we can all just learn and appreciate about different areas of theatre together. As you can see, I've got a thing here, not there. This is our schedule for June. Now, we're doing a heap of different digital content that's pinging directly to you guys to keep you entertained during lockdown, to keep us entertained and busy, and hopefully we're trying to fundraise to keep the company afloat. So this is what we've got on this month. We've got Perfect streaming, so the show that we were talking about earlier, that is streaming online, and you can watch that for free or for a donation on Eventbrite. So we've been sharing that link, and we can share it again. These Meet the Team Wednesdays are happening every Wednesday. Next week we have Alina Hallam, who is the actor from Perfect. So if you see the show and go, wow, she's really great, I want to ask her some questions to her face, then you can do. Alina is a Norwegian actor who trained at Le Coq in Paris. So she's specialises in physical theatre, and we're going to be speaking to her from Norway next week. We've got puppetry workshops every other Friday. Last Friday we released our Bunraku workshop. So far we've done make a puppet out of newspaper and masking tape. Then we did introduction to puppetry, and then we've done Bunraku. So that's kind of 2 or 3 people working on one puppet on a tabletop together. That's Bunraku style. So these workshops are super popular when I do them in the flesh, and now you can do them from the comfort of your home, school, youth group, wherever. We're doing live storytelling every other Sunday. I did the Book of Perfect last time, and this Sunday we've got a story from Peter Moritz, who you might have met during our Meet the Teams a couple of weeks ago. And what's not on our schedule actually is that we've got our show A Strange New Space going out this Friday as part of the Bristol Refugee Festival, because this week is Refugee Week. So that show is about a child refugee's journey seen through the metaphor of a space journey, and it's toured all over the world. It's been to India and the Netherlands, and it went up to the Edinburgh Fringe for a month. It's a super popular show, and obviously a very important subject matter. So from this Friday at 2 p.m. that's going out, so you can stream that as well, so you can watch that one. And if you would like to support us in all of this, I'm paying the interviewees every Wednesday, but I'm doing these workshops and things for free to keep you guys going and to keep me going. But if you would like to support us with a bit of money to help us keep operating during lockdown, that would be amazeballs. I'm going to put a little link in a second that takes you to our Buy Me a Coffee page, which is our fundraiser. You can donate the price of a coffee, so £3, or you could donate a couple of coffees or 3 coffees, just to say that you've been enjoying these and you'd like us to continue. But if you aren't in the position to be able to do that, no worries at all, and it's just super duper lush to have you here and to feel part of something with you all. So I'll see you next Wednesday for our interview with Alina. And then in the meantime, stay well, stay happy, and stay entertained by watching some of these things. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye. Bye again, bye again, bye again.